You're listening to Three Kitchens podcast, hosted by home cooks Aaron Walker and Heather Dyer.
Join us as we walk you through our experience with a new recipe, successes and fails. Let's all get inspired, cook better, and eat great food.
Welcome to Three Kitchens podcast. I'm Heather. Here's Aaron.
I'm here. I've shown up.
I hope when I pointed it was
correct.
The right direction on your screen. Okay.
We're good.
Because when I look at the videos, when I go to edit it, it's swapped. So it must be what you see.
No way.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
Weird.
I know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay. So I thought for this episode, we could do a recipe that I've never made, but it was created here in the city in which we live, Calgary, Alberta, Canada. It was created here and made famous here. So can you guess? Do you know?
Well, I mean, I'm thinking of the Caesar, which we've already had the drink. So I'm assuming, no, it's a no on that. Have you noticed they've changed the signs and slogans welcoming us into the city?
No. What does it say now?
Again, I don't remember anymore.
Oh.
Because it's changed so many times. But now it's a blue sign. It used to be a red sign that said like what?
The New West or something?
Yeah, Heart of the New West.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now it's something else.
Okay. Wow.
I know.
Whatever.
I was like, great. I'm so glad we spent our money on this. Anyway, what is it, Heather?
This recipe was created in the mid-1970s. So it's been around. I'm almost certain you've eaten it.
Okay.
If you're like me, perhaps you've never cooked it. So let's try making it at home. It is ginger beef.
No way.
Yes. Originally, yes. Originally, I believe it was called crispy ginger beef.
That sounded like a Miss Doubtfire, yes.
Yes. Tell you all about it. Okay. All right. So ginger beef is a recipe that was created in the mid-1970s by chef George Wong at the Silver Inn restaurant.
Okay.
Is it still open? I don't actually know. We might have to look that up. Okay.
Okay.
So Chef George Wong at the Silver Inn, it was inspired by Northern Chinese flavors and British style pub food. So
that makes sense.
I didn't put it in my notes, but what I believe the chef and his wife, who owned the restaurant, realized that the money was to be made by selling drinks, alcoholic drinks. That was how they were going to make more money in their restaurant. And so they thought, what do people like to eat while they're having drinks is like that kind of salty fried pub food.
Something that makes them thirstier?
Yes.
By chance?
Yes. And they thought something like French fries, but they wanted it to be influenced by their Northern Chinese flavors that they were used to cooking at their Chinese restaurant. And it was designed to attract those non-Chinese customers and increase their bar sales.
Of course, increase the bar sales, right?
Yeah. Are you looking at the map of China?
I'm looking at the map behind me because this is something that my husband and I had recently gone to see an artist who is Chinese, and she does some of her artist residencies in China, and then she comes back to Calgary. And so her name is Wei Li, and she does some really cool art. So check her out if you want. But we were discussing the environmental and temporal differences in China and how different it is. And I'm looking at the map again to remind myself, but they essentially have climates from down to Florida all the way up to Quebec, all the way up to northern Manitoba is the range of geographical distance between Beijing and Hong Kong at the bottom. And so it's something that I never really realized about China because I'm terrible at geography.
Well, it's a really big country and they have a lot of different traditions and cultural differences around. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was really, really interesting talking to her about all the different environments that there are present. And I was like, oh, I never realized that before. So
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And a lot of Chinese immigrants came to Canada, as they did to all of kind of North America. Mm-hmm. When the railways were built, and they stayed, and a lot of them introduced Chinese food to our cultures here. So Chinese food as we know it here is probably quite different from what you would find in Japan, but it's very much a mix.
In Japan?
I mean, China, sorry. At least somebody's listening to me. Always my big fear.
That's my only job over here is just to listen today. So,
so I think it's very much what we think of as sort of westernized Chinese food.
I would assume so.
This dish is very much that. Clearly, if they're trying to make it sort of a pub fare with Chinese flavors, obviously that's a mix, which I think is so smart of them.
This is the thing. So many of these iconic and wonderful new foods that pop up are from these great ideas that people have to, how can we make this work? How can we do this different? It's fun, right?
It's like, I like that idea of pub food, but I want it to taste the way I like it to taste. So I'm going to make it my way.
Right?
Yeah.
How often do we do that in our own kitchens?
Totally. And it must have been, well, we know it was a smart idea because it took off. It became popular across Canada, and still today, 50 some years later, it's on the menus at Chinese restaurants as we know it. So
it's like the number one thing that we want to order when we order Chinese food.
I love ginger beef. So then I thought, but why have I never tried to make it at home? So now we're going to do that. So it is thin sliced. Now I don't have a recipe in front of me yet, but I did find the recipe. Apparently Chef Wong's original recipe.
Okay, because there is a big variation in the ginger beef that you can get, which is something we've noticed. Like when we've gone out to different places, there's some places where like, this isn't good ginger beef here. Whereas some places you're like, oh, wow, this is to die for.
So I hope this recipe that is apparently the original is one of those that we love, and not the case that the ones we love are somebody else's adaptation, that, you know what I mean?
An adaptation of an adaptation.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to find out. So it's, the beef is thinly sliced, battered, and fried.
Oh.
And then...
You're doing it?
I'm going to do it. Oh. I know the frying we both hate, but you can't make this and not fry. I don't think you can get around that and have it taste the way it's supposed to taste.
I kind of agree.
I'm doing it. I'm taking the mess and the, hassle of it. I'm taking it on for you, just for you.
Heart.
Okay, so it is then mixed. There's sort of a stir fry of thinly sliced peppers and I think carrots, I want to say. I don't have, like I said, I don't have it right in front of me, but it's like a stir fry of vegetables. And then there's a special sauce, and everything is tossed together, and then you let it sit. The trick is don't eat it immediately. It needs to like soak up.
It needs to sit under a heat lamp for at least 30 minutes.
Well, it needs to stay, you're not wrong. It needs to stay warm. So you make it, you mix it all together, and you keep it warm for a period of time, which I will let you know. I don't have it in front of me. You keep it warm so that the flavors all come. And then ideally you eat it the next day when you reheat it again, because it tastes even better as it sits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is why, like, you go out for Chinese or you order in, and I don't know if this is your strategy as well, but always take more or always get
Order
more than you're going to eat in one sitting, because putting it in the fridge and opening it up the next day and reheating it, like, look at that look on your face.
I know,
it's like, you can just imagine it, right?
It's always better the next day and reheat it and everything just in one plate.
Yeah. Usually everything just gets dumped into one pan. The lid goes on, you let it heat up and steam a little bit, and then just kind of shuffle it around. Oh, yes.
So good. So good. So there you go. There were a couple other things that around the same time were sort of developed in the same way that have become sort of westernized Chinese food that we're familiar with, like sweet and sour chicken balls. You know those?
Yeah.
That was another thing that was like, had that uniquely sort of Canadian / British influence on it, which is like to deep fry it in the batter first, then toss it with a sauce.
Because you can't go wrong deep frying pretty much anything and adding a sauce to it.
You can't really go wrong. But maybe this is why we don't really make them at home, because what a hassle. You just order it.
It's probably a good thing. I'm patting my belly right now, even though it's out of view. It's probably a good thing that we don't make it all the time.
Yes, true. We're going Canadian, local recipe, and fusion, I guess. It was sort of like the OG fusion, right?
No kidding. Fusion before fusion was fusion.
I'm sure they didn't call it that.
No.
They called it Chinese food, and the Chinese people were like, right, doing the air quotes, Chinese food. Chinese food for these people here. But it works.
Oh, I'm so excited to hear about this. Thanks for taking on some deep frying. Are you expecting a baby or thinking about starting a family? Grab a copy of Birthing Magazine today. It is your trusted guide to empowered birth, family health, and parenting. Published 3 times a year by Birth Unlimited, a local nonprofit, Birthing is packed with uplifting stories, evidence-based articles, and the latest perinatal community news and events.
It is your go-to source for exploring your full range of birthing options and creating community. Whether you're exploring birth at home, in a birth center, or in a hospital, Birthing Magazine has the tools you need to make informed decisions. Stay informed, stay empowered. Grab your copy of Birthing Magazine today. All right, let's get into ginger beef because I got thoughts.
I got thoughts. I got questions.
It hasn't been too long. Okay, good.
I got things.
I hope I have answers.
Well, I think most of my questions should be answered once you tell me what you did. So
yes. Okay.
Take it away, Heather.
All right. So first thing I wanted to talk about is slicing your steak.
Yes.
So I think I mentioned in the first half, it's been a little while, but I think I mentioned what you're doing is slicing against the grain with this. And every time I'm like, okay, I have to remember, what does that mean exactly?
Yeah.
When you look at your piece of meat, this could be when it's raw or cooked. You should be able to see, it's almost like, I was trying to think of how to describe it, and it's almost like wrinkles in the meat.
Okay.
Like it looks like little kind of lines that run in one direction through the meat. So if your steak, I'm going to use my hands to try to visualize. If you're watching the video, you'll see, and if you're not, you might
want to just go and switch to the video right now.
Yeah, or close your eyes and imagine. Okay.
Everybody close your eyes. Heather's going to take us on a journey.
Take you on a journey. If your steak, it's usually longer than it is wide. Okay, think of it that way. It's sort of oblong, even rectangular. It's more like it's cut sort of long. So usually as far as I know, your grain is going to kind of run lengthwise. At least in the steaks that I looked at. Here I was at the grocery store, at the meat counter, looking at all the steaks. I'm like, okay, like, how can I describe, because I wanted to have a good sense of the grain of the meat, and it looks as though it typically goes lengthwise, and I don't know if that's just the way it's butchered or that's how it turns out. So you're going to cut it thinly against the grain. So what I did, and if you watch the reel on our social media, you'll see I tried to do it so that you could see it, and I held up the slice to the camera so you could see. How would you describe that?
If your steak is east to west and your grain is east to west, cut north to south.
Oh, see, there you go.
There we go.
That's good. Eventually we get there. Also, I could not find a flank steak, but I remember saying, okay, I'm cooking ginger beef because I got steak on sale today.
Yeah, you told me you found the stickers.
Yeah, 30% off. I can't resist. I also got 30% off steak today, and we're having that for dinner tonight because, I can't. That's the only time we really eat steak.
Yeah.
Is when it's on sale. Yeah. Honestly.
I try to buy most of my meat in the Buy Me Now section.
Yeah. So I did look this up. If you can't find your flank steak, you could look for skirt steak, hanger steak, flat iron steak, something like that, because they're a similar thickness
Okay.
and they're not marbled through. What you don't want in your ginger beef is fat running through your pieces of beef, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So it's quite lean and
Right. This makes me
thin.
think of when you made beef jerky.
Oh, that was good.
And we
Yep.
talked about the grain of meat and we talked
Yes.
about having a non-fatty piece. So this is the same type of meat. And what did you
Yep.
end up with again? Because you texted me too about the cut of meat. And you were like, well, hope this works.
I believe it was a sirloin
Okay.
steak. It wasn't
Okay.
even one of those ones that was mentioned. But when I looked at it and I looked it up, here I am in the grocery store. What did we do before we had computers in our pocket at the grocery store? I guess I would have gone to the butcher counter and
Right?
I did get the message about lean, thin, and so the sirloin steak that I bought seemed to fit the bill well enough. And I thought, well, it's on sale and it looks good, so that's what I'm going with.
Excellent.
Okay, I'm sorry, I have my window open and there is a neighborhood dog barking. If it gets to be annoying, just let me
I
know.
have a neighborhood saw running outside of mine,
Okay.
so we'll make it.
Okie dokie. So first thing you're going to do here, once you've got your steak sliced up, this is definitely a recipe to have all your ducks in a row, get your things all prepared and ready to go ahead of
Okay.
time. So you also have vegetables that go in here. There is a large carrot, a sweet bell pepper, pick your color. I think I had a red. It also in the ingredients lists a green pepper, green bell pepper, but I didn't have one of those, so I think I used two of the other colored ones.
Gotcha.
6 cloves of garlic and a hefty chunk of ginger. And you're for all of these things, you are going to, as best as you can, finely julienne them.
How come you're measuring your garlic as hefty? That's not a
My,
measurement. Sorry, your ginger.
I'm reading the recipe to you. A hefty chunk of ginger. Okay, don't you find that ginger is often measured in weird ways?
I was gonna say, we're always complaining about this thumb of ginger. I don't know,
Yes.
hefty chunk of ginger now? Come on.
Okay, so it also
All
says
right.
size of 2 thumbs depending on taste. So in my opinion, this recipe really is about your preference when
Okay.
it comes to the ginger.
But it's ginger beef.
It is ginger beef, that is the star of the show here.
Right.
So err on more ginger, not less.
Okay.
But honestly, I think you got to feel it out the first time you make it. I went with what it says, 2 thumbs. Here's my thumbs. I did a chunk that was basically the size of my 2 thumbs together. And I was like, maybe even with the big bottom joint, like I used a
Oh,
lot.
yeah. Where does the thumb end?
Well, there you go. I used a lot of ginger, what I thought was a hefty chunk. I should have weighed it. I didn't think of that. I'm really sorry. That
That's
wouldn't have been really
okay.
helpful.
I just like making fun of the ginger measurements that we come
I know.
across. They're always something different.
A thumb is seems to be a popular way of measuring. I mean,
It
come
does.
on.
Well, is it a human thumb or is like the little knob coming off the side considered a thumb?
That's no. That's
Oh, okay.
can't be it, can it? If that's the case, I used way too much ginger.
Well, some of the knobs are like really big. They're like branches, and then some of them are just little like
Nubbin.
tiny
Nubbin.
buds. Yeah, it's a nubbin. Not even a nub.
Not even a knob.
Pre-nub.
Okay. Lots of ginger.
Okay.
Julienne as best as you can. I had one of my kids helping me julienne some vegetables here. So like listen, if you don't have that skill, you don't have time maybe to fuss about them being perfect little matchsticks, just, you want them to be nicely thinly sliced. Then you have a batter that you're going to be dipping your steak in before you
Okay.
fry it. And in there you have an egg, a cup of water, a cup and a quarter of cornstarch, 3 tablespoons of flour, half a tablespoon of white pepper, and 2 to 3 cups of oil for frying the beef. That's not doesn't go in the batter, but you'll have
Yep.
lots of oil on hand for frying. Okay, white pepper. How do you feel about white pepper?
I had white pepper in my pantry for a while. When it ran out, I just replaced it with Black pepper.
I have a confession. I'd never bought white pepper in my life.
Ah,
Even though I have seen and made many, many recipes that call for white pepper, I have always substituted black because I'm like, meh, pepper's pepper,
right.
and that's what I buy. But this time I bought white pepper because I was like,
There you go.
well, because I had the recipe in my hand when I was at the store, and I'm like, I wonder if it makes a difference. I don't know. I still don't know.
I don't know. Is it just to do, is it like the same pepper at a different stage in its life? Is this another one of these things?
Okay, well, you were almost right.
Oh,
Black pepper is made from unripe berries that are dried.
okay.
White pepper is made from fully ripe berries with the outer layer removed, resulting in a milder flavor.
Okay.
So, white pepper it's like the old hair. The white hair is older pepper.
Ah,
That's my mental note.
is that
to
why we
myself.
call it salt and pepper up here?
They should, they should call it black pepper and white pepper
I
mixed.
guess so. Okay, and so it's not a seed, it's a berry?
Yep.
Oh,
Yes, it is.
thank you for teaching me that. I have
Well,
learned.
So have I right this moment. Next up, you have the sauce. So if you're going to prep this in advance, you have a quarter cup of light soy sauce, 2 tablespoons white vinegar, 3 tablespoons mushroom soy sauce, a tablespoon of Chinese cooking wine or dry sherry, half a cup of water, quarter cup of sugar, or it says you could do half a cup if you like it sweet,
Okay.
and half a tablespoon or more of crushed chilies. So now you've mixed up all your stuff. You've got your things ready to go. Heat up your oil.
Now you can begin the cooking process.
Yes. So you are taking your steak, dipping it in the batter, frying it.
Okay.
Depending on the size of your pot, that might dictate how many you put in there at once. Chances are you're not getting a full, I think it was a pound of meat in
yeah.
there at one time. Okay, this is where I have the first of my questions, I guess, for us to ponder.
All right.
It doesn't tell me, it just says deep fry strips of beef until crispy and set aside. Well, how long should that be?
Well, that's a very vague description.
I will tell you that batter crisps up like almost
Okay.
immediately. It's a thin cornstarch sort of batter, right? It's not like a thick dough on there that has to cook. Yeah, so it crisps up almost immediately. And plus, you don't want to dry it out, like you don't want jerky, speaking of jerky, right? So it's like, okay, well, it looks crispy. I'm going to take it out now. But by the end, and I don't know, maybe we can talk about it at the end, but I felt like it wasn't what they were calling crispy ginger beef. I didn't think that it was crispy at the end of the day with the sauce and all everything.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
I have to say I was almost surprised to hear that you did fry it because I was like, oh, did Heather cop out and be like, no, I'm baking this, no more fry, no fried in my house, because the batter didn't seem, like you say, crispy. I mean, usually
Right.
there's a good crunch.
Maybe not crunch, but like there's a definite batter layer.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
there's a crisp to it. And there was no I didn't find much of a crisp to it, no, unfortunately.
And I wonder if, I don't know if making it at home gets a different result than, because this is supposedly the recipe from the Silver Inn.
Yes, right.
Maybe a commercial deep fryer produces a different type of result.
What temperature did you fry it at?
It doesn't say.
That's also a good question.
Yes,
So if the
that's right.
temperature's not indicated, then maybe it
I
was
got
just
it like, you know, when you heat it so that if you touch like a drop of water, it kind of like,
yeah, it
it looks,
explodes at you.
I didn't check the temperature because there was no instruction. So I'm like, well, what? I don't know.
Oh, geez.
And you know, I don't have a lot of experience deep frying because I tend to avoid it at all
Yep.
costs.
Yeah, I would
So,
say I don't have much for like valuable advice. It's more just
yeah.
like, these are things that I wonder. Temperature for sure.
So I think it's a combination of the batter being super thin and maybe not hot enough. Like it
Maybe.
crisped in the oil,
Yeah.
but then when I And it was crispy enough when I put it into the sauce. But then remember, when we get to it, there is a time where you let it sit in the sauce. You and I didn't eat it till the next day.
Yeah.
And so there was nothing crisp left.
How did you go about reheating it when you ate it the next day? Did you bake it or did you
Yes, I put
pan
it in the
fry it?
oven
Okay.
in a casserole
Oh,
dish.
smart
with a-
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What'd you do?
I pan fried it,
Oh.
but the batter was problematic.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's just carry on with how we assemble this. Your beef is done, it's set aside. You're going to stir fry vegetables until crispy. So we're not deep frying them,
No.
we are stir frying them. And I mean, crispy, again, I don't think these vegetables were crispy. I didn't know how to tell. A bunch of julienned vegetables don't really get crispy in a stir fry. They get, I mean, some of them browned a little bit, but it's quite a lot of
They
vegetables.
kind of more so soften. If you
Yeah.
ask me,
Right?
you're asking them to turn the opposite direction. Issue
Quite
number
confusing.
2.
Yeah. But I didn't worry about it. I was like, okay, as long as they are soft but not mush. Yeah, like a stir-fried vegetable.
Yeah, like
Right?
I like to think of it as like it brightens because usually the color brightens, and that's how I know like, oh, I'm really close to that point where it's and not like eating a raw vegetable. And
And remember, you also have garlic in there. You don't want it to
oh
burn,
gosh, yeah, you don't want your garlic burning.
and you don't want it raw.
Oh heavens,
So-
no.
Okay. All right. Once you have your veggies looking like they're done,
To the doneness you desire.
yeah, the doneness of your desire, put in your sauce, bring it to a boil for a minute or two, remove from heat. Then you're going to put that beef into it, toss it all up to coat the beef with the sauce.
But of course.
So what I did was I had my big deep, almost like a wok, like a fry pan. I put the beef into there with the veggies and the sauce, and I tossed it all up, and I put the lid on top.
Oh yeah.
And then, remember, for the authentic original Calgary crispy ginger beef, it says, keep it warm for 1 to 2 hours until the flavor and the color is through the entire dish. So putting the lid on it and just kind of putting it to the back of the stove, it stayed warm
Yeah.
for a long time. So I didn't worry about it. I just left it there until we ate it the next day with a little bit of rice. Okay, I did try a little piece at the time,
Yeah.
and I knew right away it was not crispy. It was like, okay, what's the deal with the crispiness going on? But now I think due to our,
Some sleuthing here.
yeah, I think it's probably the temperature of the oil, and this recipe failed me by not giving a bit more
Yeah.
instruction.
First thing that surprises me, you didn't marinate the meat. Definitely thought that this meat would have been marinated. Step of surprise. So the feedback from the children was that they wanted it to be sweeter.
Oh, okay, so up your
So-
sugar.
I like the comment on the sugar there and that you can adjust it. And my oldest son even recommended, like, are you sure they don't use, like, do they use honey or do they use sugar in this? And I was like, oh, I don't know. And he was like, well, I think it should be honey because maybe that would add more flavor. And I was like, oh, well, that's a really cool idea. And like, honey is sweeter even at the level that you use it at. Like, if you use
Yeah.
a quarter cup of honey or a quarter cup of white sugar, it's sweeter
Mm,
tasting. And
good
so I was
point.
like, oh, that's kind of interesting. He's like, yeah, there should be honey in there. And I was like, well, this is the authentic recipe. And he was like, it's not authentic. It's not from China. And I was like, well,
No, it's not.
actually,
It's Canadian, my little friend.
yeah, exactly. So those were his comments. But otherwise, all of the flavors totally hit the spot. And I would say, even if you're not going to go and batter and fry it, this would be a good sauce to like marinate.
So you would like stir fry, use it as a stir fry sauce.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah, I would too. I thought the flavor of it was spot on. It was exactly what I was like, oh yes, this tastes exactly like ginger beef should taste. As a Calgarian, I will say, this is what ginger beef is supposed to taste like. I wasn't born here, but I've lived here long enough to eaten enough ginger beef in my day. But it was the crispiness of it that I felt did not work, but I still really enjoyed it. So
Yeah.
if you're not fussed about that texture, I still think it was good with the batter.
Yeah.
Like that kind of little bit of breading on the meat. I still thought it was really
Because
tasty.
it soaked up the juices. Like they were like little pops of that
Yeah.
sauciness that, I mean, whether the batter's crispy or not, that's what the batter's doing. It's like holding on to all that yummy flavor that it's soaked in, which is why I'm like, why would you not just go and soak this beef in this sauce overnight?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't get enough of that flavor. I love that flavor.
So yummy. 2 thumbs of ginger, everyone. Here's
Hey.
your measurement.
2 thumbs up for ginger beef flavor.
Oh, it's really tasty. I mean, there's nothing, when you hear those ingredients, there's nothing in here that you probably haven't made a ginger stir fry something or other with before.
Okay, I've never had the mushroom soy sauce though. Can you tell me anything about mushroom soy sauce?
It's very dark, syrupy sort of soy sauce.
Okay.
And I
Is
don't
it
know.
soaked in mushrooms? Is it made from mushrooms? What's the mushroom
I
component?
don't know. Interestingly, I had mushroom soy sauce in my fridge. So clearly I
Oh.
have used it. You can substitute it with, if you ever have a recipe that wants dark soy sauce, you can sub mushroom and vice versa. So if you don't have the mushroom one,
Okay.
it contains straw mushroom essence. I don't know what that means. Straw mushroom essence. Some type of mushroom flavoring is
Okay.
put into this soy sauce. I
Interesting.
don't know how much that would change the flavor if you just used a dark soy sauce. I don't know.
I was gonna say, have you done the dip test? Like test out the soy sauce and then test out the mushroom soy sauce and see if they taste
No.
different?
No.
All right.
It is much darker.
I challenge
and
you.
thicker. It's different from regular soy sauce or light soy sauce for sure. How much different it is from dark soy sauce, I don't know. Not sure.
Well, we don't know much.
We have a lot of questions, not a lot of answers.
Sometimes these recipes take us down that path, don't they? Where we're like, huh, so I have a lot more things that I'm thinking of now than I did when I started. We've gone down a lot of roads with this.
Yes, I know. It is fairly simple once you've got your stuff all organized and ready to go. But yeah, there were a few questions in there. And I was like, I'm usually pretty confident about substituting stuff because I do it like in every single thing I make.
That's
But
like
there
all
were-
I do.
Yeah, there are a couple things there.
Yeah. Ah, well, I'm glad to know what the sauce is because I don't think I'm gonna probably won't go down the road of deep frying, but I am for sure gonna make that sauce and put it with some beef because it was in my fridge and I was gonna serve it to everybody because we had I made like some udon noodle bowls and I was just gonna put some ginger beef with everyone's and then I forgot. So I ate my udon noodle bowl and was like, oh dang, I still have that ginger beef to eat. So I was heating it up and Damon's like, do I smell ginger beef? And I was like, damn it.
See, it's even recognizable by the
Yeah.
smell of it.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It's a really good dish. I've always really loved ginger beef. And this sauce is like the thing.
Yeah. This is it. We have the sauce.
The secret sauce.
The secret
Not so
sauce.
secret, but it's yeah. Anyway,
And now you have it too. You're welcome.
go to threekitchenspodcast.com and get the recipe. And anyone who is like
Yeah.
an expert on the deep frying, what temperature should that oil be at in order to crisp up a thin batter, or should the batter
Yeah.
be thicker somehow? Like, should it be adjusted or both? Perhaps both.
So many questions.
Yeah.
Anyone that knows how to deep fry, give us a shout.
And now for the fine print. For links to recipes and many other random things we talked about in this episode, check out the show notes or our website, www.threekitchenspodcast.com. Join us on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, YouTube, and TikTok to see what we're cooking up next. And if you love the show, tell a friend. Word of mouth is the #1 way people learn about new podcasts. Thanks for listening. Good question.
Okay. Sorry.
Shoot. See, you have a question I can't answer.
Damn it. That's okay.